Coming up next.
It took me a while to even be able to accept this, and I'm still always working towards full acceptance of that. Is that you are love, that God is love, and that you are God. We often deny our own divine presence. Jesus, whether you see him as the Messiah or not, embodied and embraced the fact that he is love and that he is God.
Mm.
He is our greatest example and teacher of embodying.
Welcome to Faith Over Addiction podcast, where the chains of fixing and striving are broken and joy is rediscovered in Christ. You are here because you know there's more for you, a life beyond addiction's chaos, rooted in God's peace and promises. This is the place where Christian women like you learn to release the weight of fixing and striving and instead lean into God's strength to create a home filled with love, grace, and hope. She is clothed with strength and dignity. Proverbs 31:25. That's you. You may not feel like it yet, but you are stronger than you know. And God has so much more for you than carrying someone else's addiction. Here, we'll uncover how to set healthy boundaries with love and a little humor. Find resilience and grace in the messy moments of life. Celebrate small victories and embrace joy like never before. Lean into God's promises for restoration and strength because He's not done with your story or your loved ones. This is your invitation to rise up, embrace your worth in God's kingdom, and take back what's been stolen by addiction, your peace, your joy, your future. Your faith is the foundation, and your boundaries are the bridge, and God's truth is your guide. I'm Tanya Gioia, your host and fellow traveler on this journey through the chaos of addiction. I'm here to cheer you on, equip you with tools that work, and share the truth that's changed my life. The joy of the Lord is your strength. Nehemiah 8:10. Together, we'll uncover how to create safe, loving space for healing, starting with your own heart and home. By setting boundaries, trusting God's plan, and embracing His truth, you can reclaim your joy, your peace, and your family's future. Then you will be able to stand firm for your family and legacy as a kingdom daughter. A woman who can laugh at the days to come, knowing her identity is secure in Christ. So grab a cup of coffee or tea and get comfortable. Let's walk this journey together. We're about to take back what's been stolen, create a safe, healing space for you and your family, and rediscover the joy God has waiting for you. Welcome to the Faith Over Addiction podcast. I'm Tanya Gioia, your host. I am here with Dawnmarie Risley, and she is a board-certified psychiatrist doing a lot of fantastic work with women. And we are here to talk some more about how to decipher who you are and who you are in Christ. So Dawnmarie, give us some background on what brings you to where you are in your life stage right now.
Wow, there's so much to unpack. My life journey started with a drowning that I survived, and that really solidifies my faith in God, that I know that I had that experience that other people have had when they have been faced death or near death, where they had that out-of-body experience and saw themselves. And I can tell you it was the most peaceful moment of my life, my non-life, my spiritual life, that it was so peaceful and joyful and warm that after I had, after my father was performing CPR, and after all of the pool water had flushed out of me, burning my nose, coughing, choking, feeling, going from complete comfort to complete unrest. Um, I had said to everyone that surrounded me, I want to go back there. And I pointed to the pool because that is where I had seen myself. And they said, no, no, you can't. You can't. You're going to stay out of the pool for the day. And that's not what I meant. What I
Mm.
meant was, no, I wanted to be in that place where I was. But it was pretty much shut down, and I had never really spoken of it again, maybe from time to time, but I didn't really contemplate the definition of that moment until a few years ago, about 2 years ago, during a healing journey with psychedelic medicine for treating trauma, for my trauma, that I revisited that moment of that drowning. And it really um, it solidified that my memory was correct
Mm.
because I was preparing for um, some very hard truths about my childhood that on the surface I had recalled, but had definitely put it set aside.
Mm.
And it brought those forth to say, I know this is true because I do remember that, and my memory does serve me correctly, and I can identify that solidly tied to that.
As you bring yourself into that awareness, what was God saying to you?
That part I haven't uncovered yet. And I wonder whether or not I had that conversation. I'm not sure. And it's something that I definitely am prepared to explore. What I did do, though, and how this ties into addictions for you, is what did I do to survive my childhood? And where did I carry that into my adult life?
Beautiful.
Yeah. So I definitely owe my work ethic to my mother, to my father, to my stepfather. They were very hardworking people. But work in itself can become the addiction
Mm.
that I have to work. I got to work more. The only the only cure for work is more work, right? And I became not necessarily, well, maybe a little bit for the money too, but I have worked myself into the ground to the
Mm.
point where when I left another job that I took a standstill of working for about a year and a half because I felt that the work no longer spoke to me and I wanted to try something else. And I spent from concept, my healer had asked me, he said, you don't want to do medicine anymore. He said, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to write a book. He asked, do you want to write a big book, a little book? What kind of book do you want to write? I said, I want to write a book about my experience and how I came to healing and how I came to forgiveness. Because forgiveness was definitely the end goal of my healing. Now, can
Mm.
you ever be healed, fully healed? Well, you're healed when you die, essentially. This is the journey. And there are always those little ripples that it's just part of the human experience. Suffering is part of the human experience. And as long as you find meaning in that healing, that suffering didn't go wasted. But you don't
Mm.
want to be addicted to the suffering. And many people are. They
Mhm.
find that their entire existence remains in their suffering to continue to feel um, that their self worth, that they are only valuable to suffer.
Ch- Play that out in an example. You're only valuable to suffer and you're addicted to suffering.
So I hear this all the time. And even recently in some of my coaching work, when I was looking at, my original cohort of women, I found one woman that was, I knew I couldn't work with her.
Mm.
Um, the old me would have felt, I've got to save her,
Mm.
no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And many of us even find that in our own relationships, myself included, where when we were broken children, when we remain broken women. And so we look for broken men because to heal ourselves means we have to heal someone else. And we only find meaning in our lives if we're trying to heal someone else and to fix things. And many people who have been in abusive childhoods are always looking to fix someone, even before we look to fix ourselves.
Because our mistaken belief is it is what makes us valuable. Am I hearing
Yes,
correctly?
exactly. And we're programmed to do it.
Okay.
So when you're in an abusive household, like I was, uh, the programming for some of the children could even be they are programmed to be the perpetrators, and the other children are programmed to take it.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
They're programmed to absorb it, and they're the scapegoat child. So I was definitely the scapegoat child. I was absolutely the scapegoat child. Some children can kind of be a little both, and I would say that my middle brother has been both, and my older brother was definitely programmed to be a perpetrator. My middle brother had done some perpetrating too. He's had his share. He's the typical middle child. He's going both ways.
Mm.
Um, but I was programmed to be the one to take it, that I
Mm-hmm.
deserve this and that I'm not deserving of love, which is just such a crime in itself of teaching a
Mm.
child that he or she does not deserve love.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, you are the love. You are love.
Mm-hmm.
And here's one that can shock some people, and even myself, I have. It took me a while to even be able to accept this, and I'm still always working towards full acceptance of that. Is that you are love, that God is love, and that you are God. We often deny our own divine presence. Jesus, whether you see him as the Messiah or not, embodied and embraced the fact that he is love and that he is God.
Mm.
He is our greatest example and teacher of embodying of that concept.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can say, oh, but wait a minute, who is she? Ego, she's saying that she is God. No, here's where that concept is. And I used my friend Claude AI to help me understand this. God uses vehicles to help us understand. It doesn't mean that the vehicle is not unworthy, but it's a vehicle to help us grow with this concept. And Claude AI came up with this beautiful concept. It said, you have the ocean, and yet you have a wave. And the
Mm.
wave is part of that ocean. It's not the whole ocean, but it is a part of it. And in the concept of oneness, that we are all one, that we are all one consciousness, that we all come from the same material, we are all part of that. So we are all a piece of the ocean, but each of us is an individual that is expressed as, I am the part of God that is expressed as Dawnmarie, and you are the part of God that is expressed as Tanya.
Mm-hmm.
And we are each a part of that measure. Some people deny themselves as being part of that. But
Mm-hmm.
we are all part of that great ocean, and we are an expression. Each wave is an expression of the ocean. an expression of ourselves.
How do we get hooked into suffering so addictively that we forget that we're part of the ocean?
It's all we know. It's all we know. And it's the part of us that makes us feel something and feel real. And it's also part of us that is looking at our early childhood, not feeling the love, but what we felt was hatred. We felt resentment. We felt jealousy. We felt all of those horrible things that were programmed into us. And when we feel that pain, it feels awful, but it's all we know. So we're either trying to suppress it, which we do with addictions of whether it's work or whether it's chasing bad relationships or whether it's alcohol or whether it's methamphetamines. We're looking for that to kind of stuff and get rid of that anger because we're taught as kids, you're not allowed to be angry.
Mm-hmm.
This is what you deserve. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
you're angry? Well, then I'm going to punish you for being angry. And
Mm-hmm.
so we never process that anger. And one of my spiritual mentors is writing a book. It's out there. It's getting out there. It's called "If You Can't." How does he say this? If you can't, if you can't let it go, work it through. It's so beautiful. You
Mm-hmm.
can't let it go, work it through. And yes, you have to work it through. You have to work through this anger. Because if
Mm-hmm.
you don't work it through, you keep repeating the same patterns.
Mm-hmm.
The woman who's been married 3, 4, 5 times, if she really steps back and looks at it, every one of her spouses are all the same person, most likely her father,
Yeah.
and she has become her mother. And that's the part of my life where I'm in now. You know, I'm in the recognition of I married the same guy, maybe a little different version, maybe a little less brutal, but at the heart of the matter, they were all the same guy. And
Mm.
so, am I going to jump into a relationship after my divorce is final? Absolutely not. I'm going to take some time and I'm going to heal and I'm going to keep working and working on myself and process all of that angst and ilk and work it through because I will not bring another man like that into my life or to my children's lives again. That's done. That ends with me.
What? So you are ending a legacy. What
Absolutely.
what happens in your life when you do level up and heal? What what changes?
Everything. Everything. Everything changes. You feel unburdened. You know, I'm taking that yoke off and leaving it here. And I'm giving it over to God to deal with. I'm taking that yoke off. I'm removing it from myself. When you're what happens when you take that off, you thrive,
Mm.
right? You hit the ground running and you fly. And I can best describe this with a good friend, a dear friend who is, well, I followed her footsteps in this. Some years ago, when we met up, we were just kind of acquaintances in school. And when we met up, she was putting me up for the weekend. And I had mentioned something to her about her marriage. And she had, and I don't want to get into too many details because I want to keep that as confidential.
Sure.
But she later disclosed that what I had said to her was still true and was a concern for herself. And later she said, it allowed me to confirm that what I'm seeing was true.
Mm.
And we met up in Philadelphia last September.
Mm-hmm.
And as we're sitting there getting manicured, she was radiant. I'll tell you, when I met up with her the first time in years, I looked at her. She was hunched over, slow. Her voice had a tremor. She had bags under her eyes. She looked tired.
Mm-hmm.
I was so concerned about her health that I thought that she might have Parkinson's. I said,
Mm.
look, I'm going to just put this out there. I want you to go to a neurologist and have him examine you because
Mm-hmm.
these are the things I'm seeing. And we're walking along on the sidewalk of Philadelphia, and she pulls out these shades, and her hair, she's naturally curly. She's got the curly flow, and her dress is pressed, and she's just walking so tall and dynamic. And she throws on these shades, and I'm looking at her. She's got these Chanel shades, and I'm like, "Girl, look at you! You got this Carrie Bradshaw thing all about you." And she's just laughing. And then about an hour into our visit, she said, I handed him his papers on Wednesday.
Mm.
And I said, that was it. They released him. And the burden fell off of her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you've got a marriage for so many years. There's still things that have to come with that. Is the division of assets and what's mine and what's yours and all these things. And some of those little burdens creep up and then they get let go, and they creep up and then they let go, and they just keep coming in waves, but each wave keeps settling eventually and dies down until you're in still waters. And she is almost there in still waters. And it's so amazing to see. And it was inspiring for me because I knew by the end of that weekend, I had been traveling with my husband, and I knew, yep, I need to do the same. It's time for me to cut the chains. And I did, and I have been. And it's such freedom to be able to let it go,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to let it go.
What for your story? Thank you for her story, but for your story,
Yeah, yeah.
what is falling off of you and how is your identity emerging?
Yeah, that's a good question. What's falling off of me? The fact that I don't have to carry my mother's legacy with me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
My mother programmed me to marry her ex-husband. That was the bottom line. And I escaped that. And
Mm-hmm.
I describe that in my story, in my book, everything that, I don't want to get into all the details of that. But I escaped that. But what I didn't recognize that as each time I had a relationship, well, they weren't fully the impact of my stepfather, who there's something called the hair psychopathy checklist. It's a checklist defining what is a psychopath. They are people whose, I don't even know if they have souls. They're just, they're purely evil people. And when most people, when they think of psychopathy, they think of serial killers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the sensational story. But in reality, these are people that are in our lives every day. About 1 in 12 people meet criteria for psychopathy. And
Mm-hmm.
we sometimes marry these people not even recognizing it. And what I recognize now, that with each relationship that I had, there was a piece of my stepfather there. And I now, and I recognize that I have been married to, or have dated, or have cohabitated with pieces of my stepfather, living out my mother's legacy. And her expectations, really, her expectations were for me to marry my stepfather without question. And I did that.
Now, these were not spoken expectations, right?
No, actually, it was.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, yeah. There was they were. It was a setup. It was the setup that my mother had set me up to, be raped by him, and to the point where I was begging for it, to be begging to be raped by him. And when I escaped, she visited me. I was in medical school, and she visited me and said, "I think you should marry Ron." Ron is my stepfather's name. "I think you should marry Ron." I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean? Why is my mother saying to me, "I think you should marry my ex-husband"? Like, who does that? Probably more common than we think. Um, but she said that to me, and I said, "No, I do not want to marry him." Yeah, yes, you do. You're in love with him. And she's telling me that I'm in love with him. I'm not in love with him. Trust me, I'm not in love with him. And I had asked her, I said, "Would you even come to the wedding?" Like, this is the part of me that's trying to grapple with her thinking pattern, and even trying to convince her, like, no, this is not true, and even convince myself, because now, this is what narcissistic people do, is they try to do the crazy making. They send their flying monkeys. Who is the flying monkey? My mother, was my mother the flying monkey, or was my stepfather the flying monkey, or
Mm.
were they both? And there's such entanglement in there. It's really hard to parse out of who was the actual perpetrator. And I think that, really looking back, I think my mother was at the reins of everything. I really do.
Mm.
And
Mm.
to be able to have to accept that was a very hard piece of truth to to accept.
Hmm.
And even in contemplating this morning, now look, I love my mother. I do. She's my mom. I will always love my mother, but I don't have to, or instead of saying but, and I do not have to accept her abuse,
Right.
right?
Right.
And I can forgive her for all the perpetration, but that doesn't mean that I have to go back for more. And the
Yeah.
old me would go back for more, because the
Right.
old me would say, "I forgive her. Okay, I'm going to give her one more chance to be my mom."
And
And
have to have a relationship
because you, right,
as seen, well, Disney's not a good example because they often of the parent, but as this understanding of how a relationship, the media creates a relationship, when biblically that's not necessarily true.
that's correct. Exactly. And, there's this one part of the Bible that says, "Honor my mother and father." But there's also this whole other aspect of the Bible that says, and I'm not very good with quotes and that type of thing and memorization, but I'm a big picture kind of person, and I recognize patterns. But the pattern is that you are love, that God is love, that you are God, that you deserve love and abundance and everything.
Hmm. And Jesus says, if you're putting that person in front of me, if that is causing you to fulfill their wishes, that bilateral contract rather than this contract, the up and down contract, then you need to let them go.
Yeah, yeah. You need to let them go. Exactly. And that's what I had to do. And I've had to do that, across the board, with friendships, with um, the relationship that I entered a contract with in a marital relationship, and I had to do that with familial relationships. And boy, you feel so much lighter when it's gone. It's amazing. It really is.
Tell us a little bit more about the book that you've written and how that brings
Yeah.
this into play.
Okay, yeah, here, I'll show it to you. Would you like to see?
Please, yes, I'd love to.
Okay, so this book is called The Offering, A Physician's Journey Through Abuse, Psychedelics, and the Freedom of Forgiveness.
Hmm.
And, this is, well, it's the last page of the book. Should I give it away or no?
Let's not give it away,
Let's not give it
but
away.
let's talk
Okay.
about what they're going to find in the book.
Okay, what they're going to find in the book is the three major parts of my becoming, from the first time I left when I was in medical school and how I broke away.
Mhm.
That was a big picture, and how a breakup or a breakaway doesn't always look clean the first time.
Mhm.
Sometimes you keep getting sucked back in. And so a clean break is always the best break if you can help it. But it wasn't, there were things that were tying me to clean break that I couldn't get past and moving forward. And so it talks about how difficult that is. And I also go into the dynamics of the things that I learned in medical school about child molestation, and through residency about psychopathy, and what PTSD is, and what antisocial personality disorder is, so that people can really recognize everything that was in play. And
Mhm.
then I got to chapter 10 and for the first writing, and chapter 10 was awful. It was the worst. It was all about how my life sucked because of all the trauma that happened, now that I can see it for me.
Mhm.
And I threw the whole thing away. I threw the whole chapter away.
Yeah.
I said, I have to get rid of this because I'm about to tell people the brutality of everything that happened to me
Mm.
in part two.
Mhm.
And I need to let people know that I'm okay and that there is something positive on the other side.
Mm. Mhm.
So I wrote the chapter of why this happened for me.
Mm.
And I wrote about all the positive stuff and the great things that I did, like skydiving, and how I collect fine art, and how I went to Paris, which was something that I wanted to do since I was a little girl, and the traveling that I did, and all the great positive things in my life, and the children that I bore, and just these amazing things about how I came to be the victor over the victim.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And then chapter or part two is going to just horrify the hell out of you if you have any sense of what it means to be human.
So you're telling
And
us how
mhm,
it was for you, then you do so that people can relate and can hear your heart and really connect. If this is part of
yeah,
your story, you
so
do
that they can
what
look
happened.
at the little girl, the teenager that was absolutely brutalized,
Mm.
and how I survived.
Mm.
And it's really about how I put my life's work into academia and to studying to
Mhm.
become a physician.
Mhm.
Um, but then at the same time, when you use what you use to survive, how it actually hurts you on the other side too,
Mm.
if you're not willing to let it go sooner. And so it gets into both those things at play. And then part three is my healing journey, how I came to work on this process, how I came to say, okay, enough is enough. I'm recognizing that I'm passing some things on to my kids, and I don't want that to happen.
Yes.
And I need to stop that. And so the first part of healing your children is healing yourself.
I think that needs to be said again.
Yep. So well, I'm going to sum it up for you. When you heal the mother, you heal the child.
Amen.
So as you heal you, as you work on you, your children are going to notice it. They're going to see it. They're going to see what hard work looks like, and you're not going to continue to put it out there for them. My youngest child gave me the most beautiful gift this year. She asked me what I wanted for Christmas. And every year I say nothing, no, don't worry about it. But part of it is because I feel like I don't deserve anything and that I'm the one that has to give and not be the one to receive. And what I haven't been recognizing, but I've come to recognize is that receiving is a gift.
Yes.
Because as much as I enjoy giving, and think about how much joy does it give me as a mother to watch my kids open their presents and how excited they are, and the wrapping paper everywhere and the dog picture and among all the wrapping paper, like all these things are just amazing for me. If I don't get a gift, my kid doesn't get to receive that same experience that I'm experiencing. And so, like, okay, here's the gift. Now I see it. Now I see the gift.
Yeah.
And my son gave me my oldest boy gave me a chocolate bar. He knows, and it's one of those love chocolate bars. He knows I like them. He knows I enjoy them. Oh, I couldn't wait to eat it. I consumed it. It was wonderful. My other one ran out of money. She bought presents for everyone, and then she's like, Mom, I don't have any more money. And I said, well, tell me what I mean to you. And at first she wrote this thing like, I think this is stupid and blah, blah, blah. And she told me about her process. And then she also told me, and then she wrote the real letter. And she said something positive in it at the first. And then she sandwiched it. She sandwiched it so beautifully. Like, I can't believe this kid, when you're giving criticism to someone, when you have to give criticism to someone, you make the sandwich method. Two slices of bread, the positive praise with, the nutrition in the middle, right? And so she said something positive, and then she said, but sometimes you can be a hothead. Mm-hmm. And, it was a little bit of a gut punch. And, she finished off the sentence and gave me an example. And then she praised me again and said, but, I just love you as my mom. I just love you. It was hard to swallow. Yeah. It was. And I can tell you, it didn't make me feel good. That kind of love doesn't always make you feel good, but it gives you what you need to be a better mom. And it gives you truth. And truth is the most beautiful gift that you can give.
Dawnmarie, this has been a very deep session. Thank you for bringing your full self here. Tell us
You're
a little
welcome.
bit more about where we can find your book, where we can find you online, and it sounds like you do some coaching for women as well.
Yeah, so I'm doing coaching for women physicians, and my coaching course is called Liberating Women Physicians. And maybe I need to be a little bit more specific about that, but I take overworked, overtired, overburdened, underappreciated, and underpaid women physicians, and I teach them how to come out on the other side so that they can be the true healers that they are by helping them heal themselves. And I'm offering some free workshops, which they can find on my Facebook pages. And if you are a woman physician, you can join my Liberating Women Physicians support group, Sisterhood. On Facebook, look up Liberating Women Physicians, and you'll find it. And put in your MPI number and all those little innuendos, and I'll let you in. And you can find me on Facebook. It's currently as Dawnmarie Risley-Childs, soon to X off that last name. And I'm also, you can find me on my website, drrisleychilds.com, DRRISLEYCHILDS.com. And you can find me there, and you can follow me on social media, on all the usual social media under Dr. Risley-Childs.
Thank you. Thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for sharing. And give us the title of your book. I'm assuming we can find it on Amazon.
Yes, you have to put in the whole title, which is the subtitle again. It's called The Offering, A Physician's Journey Through Abuse, Psychedelics, and the Freedom of Forgiveness. So I think if you started putting it all the way through abuse, then it comes up, then it'll pop up. But yeah,
Okay,
that's where it is. And then again, it's on my Facebook. It's on my Facebook. The cover is on my Facebook banner, and it's also featured in my on my website, so you can find it there too.
Fantastic. We will have all those links below. Dawnmarie, thank you so much for being here today.
You're
really
welcome.
Appreciate your candor. I know this is going to help someone or many someones connect back to themselves and who they are designed to be. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you, Tanya, for having me. This was beautiful. What a beautiful session.
Thanks so much for tuning into the Faith Over Addiction podcast. Remember, nothing changes until something changes. Today is your day to step out in faith and make a difference. You are a daughter of the King, a woman who can spark incredible ripple effects of hope and healing, not just in your own life, but in your family, your community, and God's kingdom. If this episode encouraged you, bless someone else by sharing it. Send it to a friend who needs a little hope, or post it on Instagram and tag me. I'd love to hear what resonated most with you. And hey, if you're ready to reclaim your God-given identity and create a safe, loving space for yourself and those you care about, let's talk. Book a quick call with me today, and I'd love to hear your story and help you take the next step. Oh, and don't forget to head over to Apple Podcasts, search for Faith Over Addiction, and leave me a review. Your feedback not only makes my day, but helps other women find this podcast and step into freedom too. You are strong, you are loved, and the joy of the Lord is your strength. Nehemiah 8:10. Until next time, keep walking boldly into the life God has for you.